He was also a finalist in the Indiana's Funniest contest. So please give it up for Devin.
Hey guys, give it up for my friend Lena, everybody. Please give it up for Lena. Well, I'm very grateful, very happy to be here. Comedy is like my favorite thing in the world. I actually got recognized as a comedian for the first time recently. I walked into a restaurant. The lady who was working behind the counter, she goes, "Hey, you were on the comedy show that I went to last week. That's so cool. How's stand-up going for you?" I said, "I'm here to pick up a DoorDash order for Amy." So. I could hit the road. I've had a lot of fun jobs. For a while, I was the door guy at a place that actually did a comedy open mic, which was cool, except I had to hear everybody's opinions on my set as they left the building. One time, this guy came up to me, and he goes, "Hey man, you have really good jokes, but you have bad stage presence." I was like, "You must be my biggest fan." They told me you'd be here. That stuck with me. One time I was standing outside working the door, and a mom and her little boy walked by me. And the little boy points at me, and then he looks at his mother, and he says, "What's wrong with that man?" The mom looks at me and she goes, "I'm so sorry, he shouldn't have said that." And then she looks back at her son and goes, "I'll explain later." I really like to think that they got a block down the street and she was like, "Honey, that guy's got bad stage presence." I like that job. My main job as a door guy was they wanted me to check inside of people's bags and make sure that they didn't bring in a gun. Which is a solid plan, except I have no idea what to do if I find a gun, you know? If you show me a gun, you're in charge of the rest of that interaction. I told my boss that I didn't know what to do if I find a gun, and he goes, "We should develop some sort of code word so that we're on the same page." So yeah, the code word's gonna be me crying, okay? The code word is if I open somebody's bag and piss in my pants. One time I was standing outside working and I was by myself, and this girl came out of the bar, and she started crying. And I was like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Did somebody do something to you?" And she said no. And I was like, "Okay, then I'm gonna need you to get away from me, because right now it just looks like I did something to you." I like that job. Before that, I liked what I did a little bit more. I was an Uber driver. It was very free. I would get very bored driving Uber though. I would entertain myself in a few different ways. One of my favorite things to do, if I had more than one person in my vehicle, I would let them get deep into a conversation. And as soon as I heard somebody cuss, I'd be like, "Cut that out. This is a family Uber. I got kids in the trunk." I picked up this girl from her dorm room, actually, and as we were pulling away from there, she goes, You're not gonna murder me, are you?" And just then, the automatic lock feature on my doors activated. So I had to kill her. You guys are cool. I went to go pick up this group of frat kids one time, and before they got in my car, they're like, "Dude, you're young. It's a Saturday night. Why don't you come hit the bars with us right now?" I was like, "I'll be honest with you boys, I don't really see the point in going out to drink anymore. I'm already drunk, okay? Just get in, alright? You boys like Lincoln Park?" As a joke, I would never drive Uber drunk. I would never do that. I would smoke a bunch of weed before I would drive. Probably a mistake though, because one time I got halfway through a ride and just forgot there was somebody in my car. I looked in the mirror and I jumped. I spent way too long trying convinced this guy that the GPS took us through the Wendy's drive-thru. I was like, brother, you could have spoke up, you know? What about you a Frosty? I picked up a teacher while I was driving Uber. He was a nice guy. This teacher, he asked me what I do outside of driving Uber. I told him I'm a comedian. He goes, you know, being a teacher and being a comedian actually have a bunch of things in common. I was like, what do you think the biggest similarity is? He said, we both have to drive Uber on the side. So that's a joke about our economy, everybody. I moved to Chicago recently. I'm very happy to be there. I'm happy for a few reasons. I was happy to get away from my old neighbor. This guy was very annoying. Every day this guy would tell me about how his dog kept getting sprayed by a skunk. Apparently the same skunk was hitting this guy's dog. He kept telling me every day how he had no idea when it was happening. Between us, I never had the nerve to tell him I'd been smoking weed with his dog. It's a tough topic to preach. I miss my family a lot too. I have a lot of redneck relatives. I was talking to one of my uncles one time, and we were talking about basketball. My uncle got the words diversity and adversity confused. In his defense, they're pretty close. He said Larry Bird was a great player despite all the diversity he faced. I was like, you're wrong, but not incorrect. You know what I mean? That does make sense. I get to be a white trash uncle now. I very much enjoy it. I was hanging out with my oldest niece recently. She is 2 years old. I was teaching her to say a bunch of words and phrases that she doesn't know yet. I got my 2-year-old niece to say that Bush did 9/11. Doing my part. Her response was adorable. She goes, Uncle Devin, Dick Cheney actually authorized the shooting of Flight 1. It's like, you've been hanging out with Grandpa too much. I have a lot of redneck friends that have tattoos. I don't think tattoos automatically make you redneck or white trash. But if they are of Kid Rock lyrics, you know, I think he has some makers too. But you don't tell anybody. I was talking to one of my friends one time, and he's like, I have $2,000 in tattoos on my right arm right now. I was like, dude, your car doesn't have air conditioning. Have you considered selling the tattoos? Tattoo shouldn't be your biggest asset, you know? I was talking to the same guy, he's very fun. He just lost his virginity recently. My buddy lost his virginity at 25 years old. Which I don't think there's anything wrong with being a virgin at 25. But my friend told me that he did so well after his first time that he thinks that he can be a porn star. I was like, personally, I've never heard of anybody making it to the NBA after picking up a basketball. I found out later in the night, after he hooked up with this girl, he asked her if she finished whenever they were done hooking up. I don't think Michael Jordan ever asked if he just dunked on somebody. Could you imagine if you looked at the ref was that good for you? I got out to the city in Chicago. The first thing I did, I got my apartment set up. I set up my internet. I realized that my neighbor's internet router is called, Hey Mom, this is the Wi-Fi. Mine's called, No Mom, this is the Wi-Fi. Son of a bitch. I think one of my neighbors caught on because they called theirs also, we're putting you in a home. So, they're just yelling. I got my internet set up. I like to get stoned and scroll through Facebook Marketplace. It's fun. Somebody who's selling something, sure. I was on Marketplace the other day. Somebody put a flamethrower for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The caption said, don't need it anymore. What the hell have you been up to? I wanted to buy it. I wanted to buy this flamethrower and throw it right back on Marketplace. Just a slightly different caption. don't need it anymore. Used once and felt bad about it. I think one of the reasons that I like Facebook Marketplace so much is I grew up pretty poor. Grew up with like a lot of like hand-me-downs. Clap if you guys had hand-me-downs. That was a joke, you broke pussies. A lot of hand-me-downs. I think hand-me-downs are cool. I think it's just kind of weird to get bullied for the way that somebody else usually dressed, you know? My point is, there's no reason my brother and I both had to get called gay over the same pair of pants. We got beat up over one pair of Levi's. It's crazy.